The Browns have had a pretty good start to the season. After narrowly losing to the defending AFC champs and then taking care of business against the Texans in Week 2, they're 1-1 and are looking to get a win streak going this early in the season. Meanwhile, the Bears dominated the Bengals in a game that really wasn't as close as the score indicated after a disappointing loss to the Stafford-led Rams on opening weekend. There's a ton of matchups, stats, and film to get into, so let's not waste any time. Mayfield and the Browns' offense have a very tough task ahead of them. The Bears' defense is loaded with talent and is a very well-coached unit. Sean Desai, the defensive coordinator, comes from the Vic Fangio defensive scheme, which is designed to stop explosive plays by playing predominantly two high coverages and also to confuse opposing quarterbacks by constantly rolling and shifting into different coverages. And unsurprisingly, the Bears run the 7th most two high coverages in the NFL and completely dominate opposing quarterbacks. When playing two high coverages, they allow the 2nd lowest completion percentage, the 5th lowest yards per coverage snap, and the lowest passer rating. And although the Browns have not faced a ton of two high coverages, Mayfield owns the 6th lowest passer rating and the 2nd highest sack percentage when facing two high. This isn't on Mayfield or the O-line as much as it is on the receivers' lack of separation. No open receivers mean Mayfield has to hold the ball longer, which leads to sacks and which explains the high sack rate. However, the Browns will get a boost in explosiveness and separation when OBJ plays against the Bears, which will give Mayfield that elite separator he needs. Like I mentioned earlier, the Bears are extremely creative moving their safeties around pre and post snap, which forces a lot of mistakes from quarterbacks. Here on 3rd and 3, the Bengals are running the stick arrow concept, which is a pretty reliable way to pick up 4 to 7 yards, so this is a good play call on 3rd and 3. Pre-snap, the matchups look very favorable for Burrow. The coverage initially looks like 2-man or potentially cover 1 robber since the far side safety is closer to the line of scrimmage than the other safety. If the Bears are playing either one of these coverages, Burrow has 3 great options. The first one is Ja'Marr Chase, who has outside leverage on the corner who's playing off coverage, meaning that Chase will have a lot of space to work with when he runs that flat route, since that space will be cleared out by T. Higgins running the go out. He also has Tyler Boyd in the slot running a hitch, matched up against a much slower linebacker. And if those options aren't open, he has Joe Mixon, who will be wide open in the flat with plenty of space to work with if this is indeed 2-man or cover 1, since the linebacker guarding him is lined up inside to him. But this all doesn't matter since the Bears aren't running either of these coverages. They're running cover 6, which they rotate to in the last second. And Burrow, assuming the Bears are running man coverage from what he saw pre-snap, doesn't account for the linebacker dropping right underneath Tyler Boyd's hitch route, and he gets picked off, and it's returned for a pick 6. The Bears' frequent use of pre- and post-snap safety rotation is a huge part of their stout run defense. A pillar of Fangio-style defenses like the Bears run is to stop the run on early downs without loading the box so they can set up 3rd and longs, which the offense has a much lower percentage of converting. The Bears only allow 3.4 yards per carry on early downs, which is the 5th lowest mark in the league. Loading the box with a lot of defenders is great for shutting down the run consistently, but it opens up a lot of opportunities for the offense in the passing game. Here's a perfect example of this. It's 1st and 10 and the Bengals are running stretch right. The Bengals have 6 blockers to the Bears' 6 defenders in the box. When an offense has an equal number of blockers to the number of box defenders on a play, it is a big advantage when running the football, especially on a zone run-like stretch, where the backside edge defender is unblocked anyways, because he's responsible for accounting for the potential of Burrow rolling out for play action. So essentially, the Bengals have 6 blockers to the Bears' 5 defenders in the box. This box count, however, is very deceiving. The Bears like to move their strong side safety closer to the line of scrimmage to add a ton of flexibility to their defense. The light box count on early downs is very attractive to offenses to pick up an easy 4 to 5 to 6 yards, but it's just an illusion that the Bears use. This defense allows its safeties to be aggressive, which essentially counts as an extra box defender that isn't shown pre-snap, and it's designed to be that way. The Bears rarely load the box with more than 6 defenders and still allow the 50 lowest yards per carry on early downs because they have another box defender that just doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Not only does the Bears' defense's safety rotation help with their run defense, but it is a big part of how they disguise coverages. The Bears' defense is very aggressive and deceiving, which makes it very successful, but those strengths are also their weaknesses. After thoroughly watching the Bears' defense through the first 2 weeks, I came up with a 3-part game plan on how I'd attack this defense if I was put in charge. Now, sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. The Bears use so much pre- and post-snap movement in their disguises, so you can try to counteract that by using a ton of motion to create advantageous situations, which is the first part of my game plan. The Bengals had 2 great examples of using motions and creating numbers in the run game. On this first play, the Bears have 6 box defenders to the Bengals' 6 blockers, which again seems like a very favorable matchup, but as we saw, the Bears frequently move their strong safety closer to the play, so they really have 7 box defenders for all intents and purposes. Pre-snap, the Bengals motion one of their receivers right, and then after the snap, another receiver lead blocks this outside run, which opens up a huge lane for the running back. On the second play, the Bears are in a 2-high look with 6 men in the box to the Bengals' 6 blockers yet again, and the Bengals are running duo, but this time they add a blocker by motioning Higgins to block the safety. Not only does this kind of motion help create numbers in the run game, but it can also force the defense to show what coverage they're in. The Bears are in cover 1 this entire time, but they try to disguise it by showing a 2-high look pre-snap. But because the Bengals motion Higgins in behind the offensive line to block on this run, it forces the safety to come down to the box since he's responsible for guarding Higgins, which takes away the defense's ability to disguise. And this brings me to my second key emphasis of my mock game plan, the empty formation. Both the Bengals and the Rams had pretty good success using empty formation against this Bears defense. Empty is a great way to spread a defense out and negate the pass rush, and it makes it a lot easier for the quarterback to read the defense since the defense can't do as much disguising because the offense is just so spread out. The Bears allow the 7th highest passer rating against empty at 125.8, which is already a pretty comfortable situation for Mayfield, who holds the 6th highest completion percentage, 7th most passing yards, and 11th highest passer rating when in empty. On this play against the Bengals, the Bears are running quarters coverage. And notice how the Bears don't rotate or disguise their coverage on this play, since the Bengals force their hand by spreading the field out. At that point, it's just a simple pitch and catch play for Burrow and the Bengals, and Mike Thomas gets 10 easy yards. Empty really makes things hard on a defense because it does limit that creativity that flusters quarterbacks. The ball gets out quick, it negates the Bears' ferocious pass rush, and it also takes advantage of all the space in the short areas of the field created by all the 2-high coverages the Bears like to run. And my third and final strategy in my mock game plan is a focus on the screen game, which accomplishes a very similar goal to what the empty formation does. The screen game is a great way to attack aggressive safeties that move pre and post snap, whether it's a coverage disguise or them just playing off their instincts. A big key to the success of the Fangio defense is having aggressive dynamic safeties because they are so far away from the line of scrimmage because of all the deep coverages this defense likes to run. The Rams did an excellent job misdirecting the Bears' safeties with screens and plays that looked like screens that led to big gains. Sean McVay called screens early and often to attack those 2-high coverages the Bears just love to play. The screens were executed very well, but when you're facing a defense like the Bears, You can't just keep doing the same thing and expect it to consistently work, which is where the counters off the screen game come into play. On this play from later in the game, the Rams call a touchdown play that, even though it results in a sack due to the completely whiffed block by the center, it should have been a touchdown regardless. The Rams line up with trips left, meaning 3 receivers to the left side, and are running a fake screen with the goal to catch the defense off guard and hit either Robert Woods running the fly or Cooper Kupp running a post route. The Bears are in a 2-high coverage playing cover 4, which on paper should do a great job defending the deep pass concept the Rams are running, but as we've talked about, these safeties play so aggressively, which is what the fake screen part of the play design is able to exploit. When the play side corner and safety see what looks like a screen developing, they play it very aggressively and run to the receiver who looks like he's receiving the screen. But we know the Rams aren't running a screen, and so Cooper Kupp gets wide open because the Bears' defensive backs fall for the fake screen. If not for the center completely blowing his block, Kupp is celebrating in the end zone. This Bears defense will provide a significant early season test for the Browns offense and will be one of the better defenses they'll face all season. If Stefanski can call plays to get his athletic playmakers like Felton, Hunt, and Njoku in space and avoid getting to 3rd and long by not running the ball all day long on early downs, the Browns will be well prepared to attack this Chicago defense. This game is a very winnable game for the Browns. They are the more talented football team overall, and they're also a better coach team. This is a great opportunity for the defense to start to gel and put the pieces together against a rookie quarterback making his first NFL start with a poor offensive line. We'll also see the debut of OBJ and how far along him and Mayfield have come together with their chemistry. I think the Browns ultimately take this 29-23, mostly because I trust Stefanski to attack this Bears defense as long as he doesn't get too caught up running the ball on early downs, which you cannot do consistently against such an excellent run D like the Bears have. Other than that, this game will be a fun matchup between two historic NFL franchises, and hopefully the Browns can come out of Sunday 2-1.